This week's theme on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast is What I'm Reading Summer 2024 edition. I've curated some of my favorite articles that I've stumbled on recently that I think are relevant for you as well. Maybe not enough for an entire week's worth of episodes around this whole theme, but enough to talk about for one day at least, and something that is probably helpful and relevant, hopefully, for your own retirement. Today, I'm talking about an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal citing a new study that suggests that people are overly optimistic about how much they can work later in life. The article is called Retire at 65. It's more like 62. So there's this annual study put out by the Employee Benefit Research Institute. I've actually read this study many, many times myself. It's great. It's robust, and it looks at lots of different trends around people planning for near retirement, actual retirement, etc. So one of the findings from this study is that there is a big gap between how workers envision the timing of retirement and the reality of when they actually retire. And it says some 28% of workers said they expected to retire at age 65, up from 23% a year ago. This was the median answer to the question for workers and remains the default age of retirement in the popular imagination. 65 basically is when people think that they're going to retire. But the median actual age of retirement has been 62, and that hasn't changed for several years. People think that they're going to work longer than they actually are. And this is a problem for a couple of reasons. So one is if you're planning to work until 65, and that's what you have in your mind, and that's how you're planning and making decisions as you get closer to that age, that can be a problem because if you retire unexpectedly at 62 or 63 or 59 or whatever that is, you were on this course to retire at 65 because that's what you expected to do. 3 years shy is a big gap. You missed out on lost savings. You'll have to tap into your investment portfolio earlier, make it last longer in retirement. 62 is a magic age because that's when you're first eligible for Social Security. So a lot of people take Social Security early, but that obviously has a reduction of benefits. So my advice here is that if you are thinking you're going to retire at 65 or 68 or 70, or maybe continue to work, don't plan for that. You want to plan for an earlier retirement than what you actually expect. You don't want to be over optimistic and thinking you can work longer than you actually can. So if you're planning to retire at 65, you should operate in a world where you're assuming you save, invest, make decisions with the assumption that you won't be able to work as long as you plan, that maybe you would need to retire at 62. And so this would minimize the risk of unexpected things that is inevitable in life from derailing your lifestyle and standard of living in retirement. The article also says a bias towards optimism leads many to play down the risk of medical problems and assume work will be there for us. Now, many people leave their jobs sooner than expected for reasons including health problems, layoffs, the need to care for family members. Now, anecdotally, in working with my own clients, I find this all the time. Unexpected, earlier than planned retirements. Someone gets sick, an elderly parent gets dementia. You yourself might have an unexpected medical problem. The company that you're working for, I have a client who's been with the same company for 30 years. He just got laid off a month ago. So these layoffs, health problems, family member health problems, this is the reality of life. And so we want to plan and be flexible, and that means saving enough so that you do have the flexibility that if you needed to retire earlier than you thought, that you could do it without being a huge financial burden to yourself or your spouse or your family. So that's the main takeaway from that study and from that article in the Wall Street Journal article. And I just think it's really important to hope for the best and plan for the worst. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.